Hello everyone. So yeah, look, new throttle cables have been fitted. Nice, sexy blue throttle cables. Unfortunately, I wanted to film this whole process, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. And yeah, basically I started filming the process, and it was really difficult to film in all the sort of tight little spaces, especially the side of the throttle bodies where the cables connect to the side of the throttle bodies, because it's sort of in between the throttle bodies and the frames. It's tucked in a little bit, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. And then when I started to watch back some of the footage during the filming, I realized that the footage wasn't that great, and I was doing a bit of waffling and a little bit of swearing. I thought, no, it's not worth uploading, because the video wouldn't have been very good quality at all, and I don't really want to upload a video that's terrible quality. Plus then I was already halfway through the job, so I couldn't really start again and try and make the footage better. So unfortunately that video isn't going to happen, the throttle cables. I'll talk about this video in a second, I'll get into it in a second, but just as a heads up, if anybody is thinking about changing throttle cables, if you've got a little bit of mechanical knowledge, it's fine, it's fairly straightforward. The principle is the same on most bikes, but what I will say about the Gixxer, it is so easy compared to, say, my Fireblade, because on my Fireblade everything was so much more tightly compact. The Gixxer, everything's really easily accessible. It was a little bit fiddly, like getting the new cables on at the throttle body end was a little bit fiddly, but a bit of patience, a little bit of swearing, and it all worked out okay. So I definitely recommend to anyone doing that. The only bit of kit you have to remove from the bike is the airbox. Once you get the airbox off, everything's, you know, really accessible. So that's done. Now, what's this video about? Well, I'm going to talk about battery health, because it's getting to that time of year now where we're all dying to maybe get back out on the bikes, and maybe in a few weeks or so we might start to get a little bit of warmer weather, maybe some dry days. I mean, you know, it's certainly not spring yet, but some of us are, you know, winter seems long and we're itching to get out. And some of us will use battery optimizers. I don't use a battery optimizer, I never have. I've nothing against them. I think they're brilliant bits of kit, and yeah, if you want to buy one, buy one. I've just never bothered buying one. What I normally do, because I don't really hibernate my bike for long periods, although this winter I haven't been on the bike very much for a month, well over a month or so now. But what I normally do is I just take the battery off, and I'll keep the battery in the house in a nice, the back of a cupboard, nice warm sort of dry place, and then I test the battery every now and again. I'm going to talk about how to test the battery using a multimeter. And then I'm also going to talk about a sort of process to go through, that when you do bring your bike out of hibernation, if you haven't had an optimizer, or even if you have, depending on the kind of optimizer, you might still want to test the battery just to make sure it's got the right amount of voltage, it's got the right amount of sort of health, it's a healthy battery. Right, okay, so I'm going to try and do this and keep everything in shot. Now, multimeters are really easy to use in principle. Again, you don't have to become an electrician, and I'm certainly not an electrician, but they are fairly straightforward, and they're really cheap to buy. I think I paid a tenner for this one. You can pay a lot more, and you will get other multimeters that have more functionality, but all I want this for is literally just to test battery health. So I think I paid a tenner, 10 or 12 quid, I can't remember. And basically what this does is it can measure, so on this side it can measure direct current to a certain range, and then on this side it can measure alternating current, and then all the way down here it can measure ohms, so resistance, and it can also measure continuity of wires as well. So if you're checking a wire, so if for example you're thinking that maybe there's a break in a wire somewhere, you can check both ends of the wire for continuity, and it will tell you whether there's a break in the wire, you know. So they're quite useful, and it's fairly straightforward to learn to do a little bit, just a bit of basic diagnostics with something like this. But I'm just going to show you one thing now, which is just testing the battery. Let me get these on the right way around. The right way round. Bloody hell, I sound like Jonathan Ross. The right way around. So really easy to use. What I'm going to do, folks, I'm probably really badly focused, isn't it? Is that in focus? I do apologize if it's not. This is just, yeah, my phone struggling to focus. So basically at the moment, obviously it's off, and then I'm going to turn this round to 200 on this side, which is direct current. This side here faults with a wavy line. That means alternating current. This side here with focus, the V, it's not focusing, bloody hell. You get the idea anyway. This side is direct current. Now, because we're measuring a battery, from the battery, that's going to deliver direct current, okay, not alternating current. So the reason I've put it onto 200 is because we want to see two numbers and then one decimal place. So for example, I think this battery is going to read something like 12.6 volts. You can put it onto 600 and it will, you know, it will change the decimal point. There's no real need if you're doing batteries. And you could go less, you could go down to 20, so you can see the decimal point has moved, but we're going to put it on 200. Nice and easy. Obviously it comes with two probes, a positive and a negative, and very simply all you need to do, I'm going to try and do this without bloody getting all these wires wrapped up. Let me put that there. So all you need to do is put the positive and negative probes onto the positive and negative terminals, get the wires out of the way, and then you'll see the voltage move. So there you go, that goes up to 12.6. Now just bear in mind, if your battery terminals are dirty and covered in grime, it could affect the reading, right? And you know, I normally put these down the back of the terminals, just so I can sort of use the weight of my hands to push it down to make sure I've got a really good connection. So there you can see 12.6 volts. So this battery is healthy. Now this battery has sat indoors now for over a month, and all I do every now and again is I test it and just make sure that it's not dropping in voltage. Now this isn't the whole story for battery health, there's a little bit more to it, but so far so good. As a very quick test, 12.6 volts, 12.5 volts is absolutely fine. So that tells me on first glance that that battery is healthy. To be honest, you can get batteries recharged, but why bother, right? I mean, other people might feel differently about this, but for the sake of a, you know, 40 quid, 50 quid for a real decent battery of this size, just get a new bloody battery, right? But I understand, like, everybody's different and everybody's got a budget and so on, so you can get a battery recharged, but it depends how far gone it is, you know. Batteries have they have a life, and you know, they can drain a bit and be recharged, and drain a bit and recharge, but they will have a life. And if it's been on your bike for quite a few years, it might just be more sensible to get a new battery. So that's easy. That's the test that I do every couple of weeks, just to make sure it's not losing voltage, and it's fine. Now when you come to start riding again, folks, when you come to actually jump on the bike, you connect your battery back up, and you know that it's sitting at, say, for this one, for example, it's sitting at 12.5 volts. So it would be very easy for me to think, oh, this battery's fine. But not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. We need to also make sure that it's okay once the bike's running, and once the bike is on tick over, when the bike's being revved, for example. And there's a test that you can do, a multi-stage test that you can do. This is the first stage of the test. Is the battery okay just as it is? Yes. Okay, get the battery on the bike. Now when you turn the ignition on, so not firing up the bike yet, turn the ignition on, so there's power being drawn from the battery, and you can turn your lights on, for example, which is going to draw power from that battery. Remember, at this point we haven't started the bike, we just turn the ignition on so that your lights are on. It will be drawing power from the battery, and you should then see a drop in this voltage. Only a small drop, because the electrics of the bike are drawing power from it. Then, if you can, and get a friend to help you if need be, but if you can hold these two probes on the terminals whilst the bike is actually cranking over whilst it's trying to start, it'll drop a little bit more, because it's drawing more power from the battery to try and start the engine. Again, it shouldn't, as far as I'm aware, shouldn't go below 10 volts, but double check. You know, it's very easy to find out. I might be misquoting these numbers, but you get the idea. So it's sitting at 12.5 volts as it is. You turn the ignition on and the lights on, the voltage drops a little bit because it's drawing power. You press your start button, the bike's cranking and it's drawing more power, so the voltage drops a little bit. Then the bike is idling. When the bike is running, this might be sitting at about 13 volts. 13, maybe 13.5 maximum. When you're revving the bike, as you rev it, you know, almost sort of in rhythm with the revs, the voltage should increase and drop. As you rev and let go of the revs, the voltage of the battery should increase and drop. And it would probably go up to, so that reading would probably go up to about 14 to 14.5. Now, I know I'm waffling and this video is almost done and dusted, folks, so thank you for your patience, but let me just summarize. Battery as it is on its own, reading 12.6 volts. Chances are the battery's okay. When you get it on the bike and turn the ignition on, it's drawing a little bit of power. You might see a drop in voltage, but that's okay as long as it stays steady. Then as you're cranking the bike, as the bike's trying to start, the voltage will drop a little bit more, but shouldn't really go below 10 volts or so. And then as the bike is idling, it might sit at about 13 volts. And these are just rough numbers. It might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more, right? And then as you rev the bike, the voltage should increase with the rhythm of you revving the bike, and you should see an increase in the voltage to about 14 to 14.5, maybe a little bit more, but shouldn't really go above 15 volts. For this type of battery, at least, for this type of battery. Now, I'm literally just talking about very basic battery checks here. But the point is, if you check your battery, it will give you peace of mind. The last thing you want, as I think I might have indicated earlier, the last thing you want is to put a battery back on your bike or get your bike back out having left the battery on. Okay, it might start okay, everything might seem okay, but if this battery is sort of on its way out, you don't want it to then lead to other problems with the bike, do you see, with the charging system, etc, etc. So it's worth testing your battery every now and again, especially if you're taking it off. Even if you're putting an optimizer on it, check the optimizer, make sure that's doing what it's doing, or doing what it should do. And then when you do start to ride again at the start of the new season, check your battery, run the bike, check your battery then, and etc. You know, just as I've explained. Right, a very waffly video. Thank you for bearing with me and watching that. Hopefully that's been useful for some people. Just a really simple way, a really easy, cheap, simple way of just giving yourself peace of mind that your battery is healthy over the winter period, ready for the new season. Yeah, it's just one of those many things that we can do. You know, if we've got the winter, so we're not riding very much, or some of us at least are not riding very much. So every now and again, just doing these little things on your bike just to keep it in tip-top condition, and then it just means when you jump back on in the start of the spring, yeah, it just gives you that peace of mind. So hopefully you found that useful. Thank you for bearing with me. Remember, like and subscribe if you don't already. I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel, so any help would be appreciated. It's a tiny channel. It's not even a drop in the ocean, but I do appreciate what it is, and I do appreciate all of your support that subscribe and those that watch the videos. So yeah, I just wish I could have done the throttle cable video, but it is what it is. But thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe and have fun.